Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health, a podcast of resources for restoring vigor and vitality, bringing you top influencers in the men's health arena, case studies of men who have succeeded and how they did it, and cutting-edge teaching on men's health issues from America's leading men's health guru, Dave Skattum. Get ready to take steps towards good health. Here's your host, Dave Skattum.
Hey, it is my firm belief that every person has a unique trip that they take to good health, and everybody has this unique journey that they take, and that's why I'm so excited about these podcasts that I've been doing lately, just talking to people that I know that are have some good experience with health and are generally good, healthy people. And today I'm excited to have a guy on my program, and his name is James Timmer, and just a really good guy, and I really appreciated getting to know him throughout the last couple of years. And he has some really good things to say about health and being a healthy person, and I think you're really going to get a lot out of this podcast. I'm looking forward. And Jim, I'm really glad to have you with, and welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health.
Thank you, Dave. I'm happy to be here and share some thoughts with you.
Cool. Hey, I always like to start off with just kind of getting to know kind of a curveball question. What is turning your crank? What's the fun?
That's a great question, Dave. I've always been an early riser. I love getting a jump on the day. I like the quiet in the morning to be able to think and reflect. I do some journaling most every morning about things I'm grateful for and about maybe 3 things that I plan to do during the day. I also reflect on some spiritual things, put my mind in the right frame of reference. And with the crazy times we've been having with the coronavirus and the basic sheltering in place, it's given me a extra time to spend doing that kind of thing, which will prepare for when things open up again. So it's really the quiet time, and just I love getting up early, and I always have.
Yeah, that is awesome. There's something about like beating the sun up or getting up with the sun that just like gets your day started just great. I'm kind of the same way. I love getting up in the morning. Hey, I start this off. I always like to talk to guys about what their view of a healthy guy. When I think of this, I think of these thousands of years ago when the Greeks and the Romans built these big colosseums, and they had these big pillars, and you see those statues of these men with these like perfect physiques, and anyway, and I'm just wondering what you think of if you could imagine the perfect healthy man up on one of those pillars, and if you could think to yourself, that is this guy right here, this is how I would define perfect health. What do you see that person? How do you see that person?
One of the things I start with in the vision of a perfect man, which I know doesn't exist, but the first is going to be the mental place that person is in. So often the physical makeup is really only a reflection of what's important to that person, inside. And so the physique is just a reflection of self-discipline and things one does to prepare for what he or she intends to do in life. And so the physical preparedness is really important, but ultimately what is the purpose of that person?
Yeah.
Where is their head? How are they staying away from distractions? But I look at a healthy person as being more of someone who is self-disciplined, who knows what things the body needs in terms of nutrition, exercise, rest, to enable a person to go forward with their own goals and aspirations.
Yeah, that is so good. About my challenge right now that I'm really honing into and really trying to get to the bottom root, the root of this nutrition. And my biggest issue is disciplining myself to put food nutrition into my body that is like good and nourishing and healthy. And sometimes I find myself just like mindlessly, undisciplinedly eating food that is just kind of there, so I just like eat it for no real purpose. And so I can really relate to that whole idea about being disciplined enough to choose the right things in your life, not only food, but the whole spectrum of, you know, getting good rest, getting good fitness, getting good nutrition. And so I can really identify with that. I think that's so critical to have that self-discipline to really be able to hone in on what you're here for and where you're going and focus on that. So I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, it's true. And part of this whole process is not being fanatical.
Yeah.
We get into so many fads in terms of diets or social media or all of these things that can be so distracting. But at the end of the day, I think life is very simple. And the more we can remove stress from our life, that in and of itself can create a lot of unhealthiness and a lot of behavior that doesn't contribute to becoming a healthy person.
Man, that is so good. I want to dig a little bit deeper on that one. So you just said you think that life is pretty simple, and when I look around in my world, I don't see real simple stuff happening, and there's a lot of complicated stuff. There's this. I just had a good friend of mine that was my wrestling coach pass away from this virus related. He had a whole bunch of other stuff, but he just passed away. And so there's all kinds of stress that comes in our life through all kinds of different things. Hone in, dig a little deeper with me on that. So what do you mean by life is a lot simpler than what we sometimes make it out to be? I think that's what you said.
I think I would respond and say that we create all of these expectations, what it is to be successful, what it is to be healthy, what it is to be in a good relationship. And so often those expectations are unrealistic. One of the interesting things right now we're going through is the idea that we might be killed by the coronavirus and all of the fear and stress that creates regarding oneself and also family members. At the end of the day, we're all going to die. At the end of the day, we're all going to die of something. We get up each morning, we go about our lives, we take risks, we drive cars, we're on tall buildings, we're in areas with earthquakes, hurricanes. I think that we've blown this whole coronavirus so out of proportion that life is full of risk. We're going to get through this. Some people are going to die, unfortunately. The reality is we have to persevere and go through it and accept it just like every other risk. In the United States, 2 or 3 million people die every year of various causes, and hopefully we'll all work together and find a remedy for this virus like we have with other diseases. But at the end of the day, keeping life simple, what's really important, not being distracted. We get stressed out, we become impulsive. Taking a step back, and that's part of each morning, is just creating that place where we can not just respond to life, but we can actually lead in life and make choices and not be responding to things that are urgent but not really important.
So man, I'm picking up a thread here. You mentioned at the very beginning that you get up in the morning, you like to write in a journal, and then you mentioned that about finding your passion and finding the direction of your life, and then you talked about self-discipline and keeping life simple. I'm just curious, when you are up in the morning, does your journal, when you are doing your journal and your time in the morning to prepare you for the day, is that helping you with that discovery process and the focus and keeping things simple? Is that part of, does that all tie together for you?
It does, because I tend to get distracted. I'm easily distracted, and in the morning, by establishing certain priorities, by writing down what I'm grateful for, what things I'm going to do, it just creates a basic framework from how I'm going to go forward in the day. And one of the things that I think is critical in life is that life doesn't revolve around me. Looking what things I'm grateful for, because so many things I receive, it's just amazing. And recognizing certain traits of humility and gratitude and important things like perseverance. I go over those traits too, of what I would like to be as a person, and acknowledge those and write those down and affirm them, and just part of setting the tone for the day.
Oh, that is so good. Hey, so let's flip this coin. So we just talked about this ideal person of good health. What do you see when you look around and when you think about this? What do you see as a person that is unhealthy? How do you view that person, and how do you think they get to that place, and what are your thoughts on that?
Well, life is all about choices, and every choice has a consequence.
Yeah.
And so if people want to do things that most people consider unhealthy, whether that means smoking or drinking excessively or all of the other various things we become addicted to that can be considered unhealthy or cause consequences, those are choices that people make. And at the end of the day, my question is do you want that? Ultimately, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. If they really enjoy certain things, as long as it's not destructive towards somebody else. If they want to eat an unhealthy diet from the standpoint of nutrition, but they love that diet, that's their choice. I've chosen to do other things to experience. One of the things we experience in health is just you have a high amount of energy. I feel my mind is clear when I'm eating well and exercising and getting rest. And so I experience life on a totally different level. And for me, that's what's important. What other people choose to do is really their business. I want to set an example for what I choose. And if someone wants to change something, I'd love to help them. But if they enjoy what they're doing, that's their choice, and that's what they're going to live with.
Yeah. Hey, just to kind of go back to that question I asked you about your journal. I think I journal too, and I'm just curious about what do you put in your journal? Why do you journal? And how does it help you?
Just recently I started a new journal. I think it's called a 5-minute journal or something. It's one of the journals that Tim Ferriss recommends. I started I think I'm on day, I don't know, maybe it's been 2 months now. It basically establishes a priority for the day. It lets me reflect on what I'm grateful for, because so often we look at the negative side of life, what's happening, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. But when I look at what I'm grateful for, it changes the whole tone. Life is an opportunity. Those challenges are allowing me to grow in a different area. They're allowing me to reflect on how I could change something to do better or overcome something, strategize about it. And also when I'm doing my affirmations, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to die, or I'm generous or grateful or kind, compassionate. Today I would like to help someone overcome something they're struggling with if they're interested in doing that and if they're open to it. Yeah. Because to me, life is really about serving. And again, it's not about me, but if I can take care of the vessel I was given in life to be able to serve and to be able to help other people, I'm really helping myself at the same time. It's maybe sometimes it might be considered selfish too, in a way, but I love helping people, and I love doing things that let me feel good, and I have self-discipline. We all have challenges that are different.
Yeah, exactly.
So eating the wrong kinds of food, that's never been a challenge for me. I have other challenges. We all have challenges. We look at people, that person's so thin, or that person's so healthy. the reality is we all have challenges. It's really what we do about it and how we overcome them.
I just want to refer back to, I think this is intriguing with the journaling thing. So you have a journal that Tim Ferriss puts out, and you focus every day on setting your priorities so you kind of have some direction for your life that day. And then you focus on being a grateful person. Does that kind of sum that up?
Well, there's a whole nother side of that process, that exercise, that habit is something that is part of a larger picture, because I develop goals and objectives in life, and they change, and I make adjustments, but I'm always moving towards some kind of a target, both in terms of health, spirituality, physical projects I do. I have properties that I manage. I have properties that I'm developing. So I always have a lot of physical projects going on, but within those parameters, within those quadrants of spiritual growth, physical growth and conditioning, doing certain things that reflect my business, those all are also part of that journaling process. I have a second book that I use for my planning and everything, where it's more like a daily planner. Journaling is more of a looking at the real foundational things and more brief, whereas my planner is more of the specific objectives and task-oriented stuff.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
cool.
sure if that helps explain a little bit more about it, but the journal is something that we just need to remember that we're given so much, and oftentimes in America we're not grateful. We kind of begin to expect things, but there's not many places like where we are in America where we've been given so much and so much opportunity, and it's really important to be grateful about that.
What are some key things that brought you to a place of good health? And maybe even, I'd like you to comment on that, but also, was there some times where you made some bad choices or some bad things happened to you or whatever, or you came across some people that were a bad influence or something like that that kept you from being as healthy as you could be? Comment on those two things. What happened? If you look back over your life, what kind of things happened to you that brought you to a place of good health, and what kind of things happened to you, people you met, or circumstances that maybe pulled you away from good health?
The first thing I would say is I am my own worst enemy. If I look back over my life, it took a long time, and it's a work in progress, but it took a long time to recognize that I don't have to beat myself up. I don't have to accomplish something to create self-worth. And I think there's a lot of that in our society where our value is a reflection of our accomplishments. I think that's a mistake. I think we don't have to prove something to anyone. So many of us think we're not good enough, or we've got guilt and shame in our life that inhibits us from doing things we want to do, creates fear, anxiety. At the end of the day, life is not about having a long list of accomplishments. I mean, that's just going to be part of what we do as people, as we determine who we are and what our gifts are and what we're good at, and we do those things because they provide such fulfillment. But the idea that we have to accomplish something or someone's better than another based on their profession or something has really deterred me from just accepting myself for who I am and not feeling inadequate and things like that. And it's taken a long time to really understand that. I've tended to be selfish as a person. I'm more of an introvert. I just do things on my own to a great extent. But life is about relationship. Life is about working with others and sharing challenges and putting people together with different skill sets to do things. That's some of the most fun I've had in my life. It's just been on a great team with great people. Yes, lots of problems and everything, but lots of growth, vulnerability, honesty. So it took a long, long time for me to get to that point. And like I said, it's a work in progress. But over the last several years, I've really spent a lot of time going back and looking at that and not doing life to be successful monetarily, but doing things that are just fulfilling accomplish great things, but not having my whole self-worth wrapped up in that project.
Yeah.
That's a difficult lesson I think a lot of us in America have to learn.
You could probably trace a lot of unhealth, like heart disease, cancer, obesity. A lot of things could probably be traced directly back to that core thing of our view of ourselves and how we view ourselves. I think that is so good. That's pretty cool. Hey, one last thing. Jim Timmer was king of the world, and you had a magic wand, and you could wave it, and it would change the world of health as we know it. You could make it so people are so much more healthier. What do you think would be some key one or two things that you could do with this magic wand that would help every person or most people in the world become more healthy?
That's a great question. Ultimately, so much in life comes down to the importance of unconditional love. And it starts with loving oneself and not having to do something to prove something again, or not indulging because of a poor self-image, or many of us have habits that are self-destructive because we don't like ourselves.
Yeah.
So the most important thing I could do if I spread that wand is I would encourage each of us to love ourselves and to find something to love within ourselves. And equally as important is to provide unconditional love towards others, not being judgmental, accepting others' flaws. Yes, we have to pay consequences for inactions that require consequences. Yeah. But it's just like our children. We love them in spite of what they do, but oftentimes we don't love our neighbor or someone else in spite of what they do. Yes, consequences, but that love allows people to feel accepted for who they are. And I think that's one of the most important things there is.
That's cool. Hey, we're almost out of time, but I think we should get together and do another podcast just on the root of that and go deep into that. Like, where can we muster up this love for ourselves, and where can we muster up this love for other people? And man, you're so right. If that could happen, that would change the world. That's a really good thought. And it's so, when you step back and look at how important, how deep that is, and all the issues that you face with trying to develop that in your life, it's a big monumental thing. So, hey, we're out of time, but if you want to, let's just put a little ribbon on this whole podcast. I'd like you to close us out with any kind of closing thoughts about men's health and your personal health, and just any closing thoughts about that. And that's how we'll end our.
For people that are hearing this podcast, one of the things that's really important is that we don't try to do these things on our own. That if we're really interested in men's health, so many times it's so difficult to accomplish things by ourselves. So it's really important to find others, whether it be a mentor or a coach or a group where we get encouragement, we have accountability. Things like that really can be a deal changer. And I think that so often we just think that we can overcome by ourselves, and I don't think that's the case. And in my life, I know it's not the case.
You've been listening to The 4 Pillars of Men's Health with Dave Skattum. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit the4pillarsofmenshealth.com.